Dear students, now in this video we will be talking about vernier calipers and screw gauges, all fundamentals, including some examples, worked out examples, and then how to solve the questions based on this vernier caliper screw gauges, which will come in JEE as well as in NEET. Now I now divided this particular lecture into two parts. Now part one is a video which you are now seeing. Now here we will discuss the vernier calipers and especially the least count determination methods as well as some examples about applications of vernier calipers. Now, as I said, now this will be very basic. Therefore, now even if people who have not actually studied this topic can benefit from here, and for people who already know a lot about these topics can do a revision, and then for some people who have some doubts and clarifications, they can get a good idea from this particular lecture. Okay, now as I said, now there will be now two parts, two videos. Now this video will be covering, as I said, the vernier calipers basic. Then the next video you have to follow. At the end of this particular video, you have to follow the next video. And the next video is called as part 2 of 2. This video is called part 1 of 2. And the next video will be covering zero errors of vernier calipers. And also the screw gauge will be discussed in detail along with some worked out examples. Plus also now the PYQs. The PYQ means the past year asked questions both from NEET as well as JEE Main will be taking up for discussion as well as solution, and also give you enough number of questions for your practice. Okay, as I said, therefore now after finishing this part 1 video, you please continue with the part 2 video, which will be a separate video altogether. Okay, yeah, fine. Now with this kind of introduction, you please now continue. Let's now get into the topic. So least count of vernier is calculated like this. Least count equal to 1 MSD minus 1 VSD. Now this is like this. Supposing, for example, suppose 9 MSDs coincide with 10 VSDs. Then what is the least count is calculated like this. That is 1 MSD minus what is 1 VSD is 9 by 10 MSD. Therefore, it is equal to 1 by 10 MSD. Supposing each MSD is equal to 1 mm, then it is 0.1 mm. Now this formula you know, right? Now, let's now try this particular question. In a vernier calipers, n plus 1 divisions of vernier scale coincide with n divisions of main scale. And therefore, then what is the least count? Because n plus 1 divisions of VSD coincide with n MSD means then 1 VSD equal to n divided by n plus 1 VSD equal to n divided by n plus 1 MSD. Therefore, then 1 MSD minus 1 VSD equal to 1 minus n by n plus 1 of MSD, which is equal to 1 by n plus 1 MSD. Okay, and supposing now it's given that MSD equal to 0.1 mm. Therefore, now least count is 1 by n plus 1 of 0.1 mm. Correct? Which is equal to how much? Now they want in terms of vernier constant in terms of centimeter. Therefore, now they divide by 10 again. Okay, the 0.01 equal to 100 by n plus 1. Correct? 1 by 100 n plus 1. Okay. Therefore, now this is the answer. Now, therefore, or rather now you can do it fast. Therefore, now you follow the shortcut what I am now teaching you. Okay. Now the least count in a vernier calipers is find the difference between this data n plus 1 VSDs coincide with n MSDs. That means what is now the difference? Difference is 1. Okay. Difference divided by this n plus 1. So I just repeat now, the shortcut is like this now. You are given the data, how many divisions of Vernier scale coincide with how many divisions of main scale. Now find the difference between those two data and then divide by this how many divisions of VSD is given. In this case it is 1 by n plus 1 and then multiply it by the data which is given as 1 MSD equal to how many mm, right? Therefore now let's now do in this case what happens. Let's do a practice of the shortcut method what I just now taught you. Take for example the data that let us say 23 VSDs coincide with 21 MSDs and each MSD, one MSD corresponds to let us say 0.1 mm. Then what is the least count? Therefore, as per my shortcut thinking, what I told you is now the difference between these two, 23 and 21. 21 divided by the number of VSDs, which will usually be the higher number, 23, multiplied by 1 MSD equal to 0.1. Therefore, this many mm is the least count. Understood? Fine. Now, then after taking out the least count, after calculating the least count, we should also be able to now take reading. I should now revise how do you take out the reading of let us say any length of let us say a rod using the Vernier calipers. So then I give a data, you just put the rod in between the jaws and then close on the rod, and then you find that let us say 17th, that is 0 of the Vernier scale is after 17th MSD, and also 1 MSD corresponds to 0.1 mm or rather 1 mm, and then the least count let us say is 0.1 mm. Well, I just repeat, 1 MSD equal to 0.1 mm and the least count is 1 MSD equal to 1 mm and the least count is 0.1 mm, and then you find when you put the rod in between the jaws, you find the 0 of the Vernier scale is after 17th MSD, and also now the 8th Vernier scale division coincides with some main scale division. Okay, therefore now then what is the length of the rod? So then what is it now? Now after 17 MSD, therefore 17 into 1 MSD equal to 1 mm. 1 mm plus then which VSD coinciding with any MSD 8 into least count. Therefore this is now 17 mm plus 8 into 0.1 mm equal to 17.8 mm is the reading. Correct? Therefore now this is the way in which you use the Vernier calipers to measure out the length of any given object. So students, we are now come to the end of this part 1 of this video, that is Vernier caliper screw gauge. We have covered now Vernier calipers, especially least count determining, as well as we have taken some examples and then worked out. Now please now there is the one more video which is called as part 2. Okay, now we have covered part 1. Now we will have to go to part 2 of the video, which will cover the zero error part of Vernier calipers and also some examples about how to apply the zero error concept what we have learned. Then we will also be taking up the screw gauge as well as its least count determination, examples, how to make out a reading, as well as the zero error concept applied for screw gauge. And then end of it, now that part 2 video end of it, we will be taking up some worked examples as well as give you some practice examples from the past task, PYQs, both from NEET as well as from JEE Main. So then that will be the part 2. Therefore now please continue with the part 2 video, which will be a different video. Okay. Yeah, thank you.